Ya Shri Guru Tamnatosmi Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaeva cha Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Nikhila shruti mole ratnamaladhyate Nirajita padapankajanta Aji mukta khulairupashyamanam paritastvam harinam samshrayami Anarpita charim chidat karunayavatirna kalaho Samarpaitu jvalarasam svabhakti shriyam Hari purata sundara dyuti kadamba sandipitaha Sada hridaye khandare spurato vasachinandanaha Ajanulambita bhujo khanakavadato Sankirtanai kapitaro kamalaya taksho Vishwambaro dvijavaro jugadharma palo Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karunavataro Ladini Shakti Swarupaya Gauranga Suhridaya Cha Bhakta Shakti Pradhanaya Gadadhara Namostute He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Radhe Vrindavanadishe Karunamrita Vahine Kripaya Nijapadabja Dasyan Mahyam Pradiyatam Bhaktya Vihinaya Paradhalakshay Shiptascha Kamati Tarangamadhe Kripa Maitvam Saranam Prapanam Vrinde Namaste Charanarabindam Vrinde Namaste Charanarabindam Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai Shri Harinam Prabhu Ki Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Navadvip Dham Parikram Ki Jai Gaur Premanandi So, good morning to all. Welcome again. Hope you had a restoring rest and gradually warming up for our official second day of Parikram, at least here in Navadvip, Sri Navadvip Dham. Today we'll be visiting Sri Vasangam, Advaita Bhavam, Gadadhar Angam, and let's see if something else. But as usual, as I told you in the mornings, I feeling some inspiration to share some words about Gaur Tattva, or the ontological truth about Mahaprabhu, the depth of who Mahaprabhu is, the gift of Mahaprabhu of Gaur Lila, so we can further appreciate our stay here, basically. Have some soundtrack today. So yeah, yesterday we started trying to draw this connection between Krishna Lila and Gaur Lila. We visited the birthplace of Mahaprabhu in Yogapit, but before that we went to another birthplace of Mahaprabhu and Gaur Lila in the form of Krishna Lila, and tried to make the point that at the height of Krishna Lila, Gaur Lila blooms, manifests. It's not the lower thing. It's not like a disposable thing. It's not a mere bridge to burn once we cross it. No, it's not the means of Krishna Lila. In one sense, it's the ultimate reach of Krishna Lila, Gaur Lila. And again, Gaur Lila and Krishna Lila are the same thing at the same time. So as much as we talk in terms of two, it's two on one. Achintya Veda Vid. That's our metaphysics, our philosophy of life. So we better get comfortable with navigating the paradox of constant unity and diversity. So yesterday we, of course, concentrated on one particular verse from the Bhagavatam, Naparayaham, Nirabhadyasam Jayam, and so on, the verse that Krishna speaks after Rasalila Gopi Gita, Krishna reappeared in the midst of the gopis, way after Brahma asked him before, how do you plan to repay the love of the Brajavasi? They have given everything to you, and Krishna in silence starts to ruminate what to say, and eventually says, I cannot pay back. That's my conclusion. But I can try my best, because Krishna is grateful. He's not ungrateful. Now, he explains that to the gopis before when he speaks about different types of people, and one is the ungrateful, and then he speaks about who he is, who is not the ungrateful one. So the fact that you cannot pay back doesn't mean you are ungrateful, right? If you are grateful, you'll try to do your best, even when you know you will never be able to pay back. Still, you will try as hard as you can. So that's Gaur Lila. Krishna trying as hard as he can, as Mahaprabhu. Not only paying back, but trying to experience the heart of Sri Radha out of curiosity, out of getting to knowing himself more, but out of gratitude also, out of empathy. If I love someone, somehow I'm interested in knowing what's going on in your heart. So Krishna is saying that to Radha. I'm so interested about you and your heart that I want to fully experience and feel and explore that. Let me do that. Give me your blessings. As we'll see tomorrow especially. That's Radha's Gadadhar Pandit in Gaur Lila giving blessings to Krishna's Mahaprabhu too, for the Gaur Lila to be successful. Because as we say, Krishna Lila without Gaur Lila for us is a failure. There are some unmet needs in Krishna Lila that need to be fulfilling Gaur Lila. But Gaur Lila also can be a failure if Radha doesn't allow Krishna to taste what he needs to taste and to honor him. So Gadadhar Pandit will be that person, but more of that tomorrow. This is a trailer only. In case you were thinking about leaving the whole parikram today, you can stay one more day. So anyhow, we try to share some thoughts about that, and how in that particular verse of the Bhagavatam, the height, the zenith of the Bhagavatam Gaur Lila manifests under Bhagavan Sri Krishna is. Sanatana Goswami comments, this verse is predicting the appearance of Gaur Lila, which is an eternal reality, but appears in time on earth once in a life of Brahma, in the day of Brahma, at least when Mahaprabhu comes in a certain mood with a certain willingness to explore something. Mahaprabhu in general, let's say, appears in every Kali Yuga, but one Kali Yuga per day of Brahma, which is a long time, he appears in this particular mood of exploration and gratitude and reciprocation. And it's a Kali Yuga we happen to be in, guys, just in case. Too good to be true, right? Difficult to measure the level of fortune. That's why Prabhupada put much less gifts. I mean, he didn't put it, it was already there. They say, okay, let's take that out. So no. Why do you want to take the sign out, much less gifts? This is a much less gift. Anarpita charim chirat karunaya avatarna kalo. This famous beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita, where it is said Rupa Goswami composed this verse. That thing that has not usually been given anarpita, now is samarpitam, is fully given in the most lavish and indiscriminate way through Mahaprabhu, this highest gift of divine love, the extension of his own experience. So Mahaprabhu, as we say yesterday, could be thought as the most introspective, the most curious, the most vulnerable, the most everything in many ways. And that speaks to us. Okay, how my God, how my Ishtadev is the most vulnerable, how that's inviting me to be vulnerable. If I'm worshiping a God that is the most vulnerable, I must be most vulnerable myself. If I'm worshiping Mahaprabhu, the God of curiosity and exploration, I must remain in that childlike space of ongoing curiosity and exploration. If I'm worshiping Mahaprabhu, who is God in his most empathic moment, trying to connect with the heart of his beloved, that's inviting me to cultivate empathy as deeply as I can. No, it's not only also nice that Mahaprabhu is so empathic, so curious, so vulnerable. Good for you, Mahaprabhu. We are here enjoying the fruits of your vulnerability. That's not how it works. I cannot connect your vulnerability if I'm not willing to put myself in a vulnerable place. I won't be able to appreciate the vulnerability. I may even trample on your vulnerability. So here, our Istadeva is the most vulnerable. We are invited to be most vulnerable. So it's important to get the message and the responsibility we are invited to step into. related to what we talked last night with kind of previous question. Okay, we are afraid about our brightest potential, not only because it's unknown, but also because it invites for full responsibility. And that's not the word we have nice relationship with sometimes, responsibility. But it's responsibility, the ability to respond in a proper way to the necessity of the moment, to any given situation. And our brightest potential also invites us to have full freedom, to choose in a voluntary way in which direction we want to go. And we are terrified about freedom many times. No? Choose what you want to do. Oh, no, you tell me what to do. But that's not that's not how the Gita ends, as we talked the other day. Krishna speaks to Arjuna at the end and says, now you've heard me, you decide what you want to do with your life. That's how it works. That's empowering of voluntary love and choice. So again, Mahaprabhu has all these qualities. No? As also Swetadeep was asking yesterday, okay, it's the highest, but sometimes another maybe better word to use, so highest doesn't feel too far away, is the deepest. Because deepest also entails it can go way to the bottom. Sometimes we feel that we are way to the bottom. So the highest is the deepest. Now, high implies up, deep implies down. So it's the highest, is the deepest, yeah, is the broadest. Mahaprabhu's campaign is very broad, as we said, and we will see these days. I guess it can accommodate everyone, basically. It's not that Mahaprabhu say, only those who have affinity for Manjari Bhav, you can come to me. Unfortunately, sometimes followers of Mahaprabhu misrepresent that, say, he came to give only this. If this is not your thing, sorry. Look for another religion somewhere else. But again, sorry.
Come in another yuga.
Yeah, come in another yuga. Good luck, no? But as we will see these days, he had Hanuman. Hanuman is worshipping Ram in Ayodhya, but there is a place for him in Gaur Lila. Nityananda Prabhu, his Dwadasa Gopal, his 12 cowherd boys, main associate, they began in one sense the movement. They were the first ones who went door by door sharing the message of Mahaprabhu. And an extension of that is all the other sharing campaigns, but it all began by a group of Gopas. So all that is part of Gaur Lila. Again, it's very accommodating, very broad, very generous. So the broadest, the highest, the deepest. So it reaches you in every direction, no matter up, down, left, right, back, front. If you want, in, out. If you want, that's the capacity and the reach of Mahaprabhu and his generosity in the Audarya Lila. But again, we have to have faith in that, and we have to have hope that that's actually the case, and then show up and be willing to be reached, right? Leave the cave and be touched by the light, as painful as that may be in the beginning. We have a very direct example now. It's beautiful, light is nourishing. Without sun, there will be no life on this planet. But we have to learn to navigate the light, right? So anyhow, some words we shared yesterday about Mahaprabhu and about how grateful he is, especially how this is a very unique theological idea, right? Like God feels eternally indebted and cannot repay back. Okay, it's counterintuitive because you would think, oh no, God is omnipotent, he can do whatever he wants. If you push that idea too far, you have no Gaur Lila, basically. Because no, Krishna press a button and everything is already done and arranged. That's not what's going on here. So interesting. Yeah, the Almighty God, but the all vulnerable God. They're all powerful. I have nothing against that word, but also they're all indebted, divine. So Krishna here feeling deeply loved, even deeply forgiven, because he in his humility feels, I'm not able to pay back. I'm committing a crime. He's coming with his cloth on top of, I'm a criminal. I'm receiving so much. I'm basically not reciprocating accordingly. Please forgive me, basically, Krishna is telling to the gods. And he's feeling I'm being forgiven by them eternally. And because I'm being forgiven, I kind of try to give myself in a deeper way. Showing how that speaks to us. When we receive a love we cannot repay, what to do with that? If we have No, we have to do something. It's not like, oh, thank you. It's like, oh, I cannot deny that unpayable love, but I cannot just remain. Okay, bring another jar of it. That tasted nice. It's like, what to do with them? I'm receiving a matchless gift. So let's do one exercise on that basis. Why not? You can go to the shower for a moment, people. So we'll do in groups of three rounds. I don't have my gong here, but I have my singing bowl in this form. So we will make triads, and first round, each one briefly, 1 minute. We will exercise conciseness here. So first we will say each one will complete the sentence, a moment in my life when I felt deeply loved or forgiven, beyond I could repay. So one can mention a moment of that in our life. I will mention it again to remind you, so don't forget. So 1 minute each. The other two will bear witness, and then I play cartels, second minute, the other person. And when we finish the 3-minute round, second part will be what happens in my heart when I realize that love is a gift I can't repay. How do I feel when I realize there's no way of paying this back? But it's beautiful and I want that I need it. So again, 1 minute each. I will reminding each one of these prompts. And the last one is, as much as we can, one small way I can express gratitude for that love is, so we can continue to internalize what's going on around us in this place, what this land is about. And again, own all these truths in our own life. So I will put pause to the recording. Okay. We are back. How it was? Good?
Fast. Yeah.
Dynamic. Ever evolving. Again, if you want, feel free to during the day to continue sharing with your brothers and sisters. Again, you can act outside of the box. There was a particular box, but you can go outside of the box. So anyhow, this was a little bit of a summary of yesterday and some further internalizing of it today. So I'd like today to continue reflecting about some the specialty of Gaur Lila and of Gaur Tattva, especially with one particular term that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami uses in Chaitanya Charitamrita to refer to Mahaprabhu, which is, and I have my whiteboard here today, which is Paratattva Simma. Paratattva Simma, which basically translates as Tattva means truth, Para means supreme, and Simma means the limit. But limit not in something that limits, but like the limit of the maximum reach of something. So the highest expression of the absolute truth. And he uses that for Mahaprabhu. And again, when I'm saying this, we have to always be careful not to become sectarian, exclusivist. Oh, Mahaprabhu is higher than every other form of God, even Krishna. You start to insult Krishna, and you start to insult whomever, because Mahaprabhu is the high. That's not tasteful. That's not correct. That's not healthy. In one sense, we are talking about reality is non-dual consciousness, right? Bhagavatam says that Vajnana Tattva. The ultimate reality is non-dual consciousness. It's indivisible. It's akhanda. You cannot say Krishna, Mahaprabhu, Ramachandra, and put each one in different boxes. It's one same absolute, indivisible. But at the same time, there is variety. And in the context of certain considerations, there may be some specialty in this or in that. But every aspect of the divine has a specialty, even as recently I published some articles on Gaudiya, Vedanta, and religious pluralism, and I made the case that if you want to experience non-differentiatedness, Brahman is higher than Krishna. Higher, in the sense of it facilitates that experience. Again, Brahman and Krishna are not different. They're not two different guys. So depending what we are looking for, some aspect may be presented as better, higher, deeper, whatever. These are words. But at the same time, we are talking about absolute reality, where everything, in the words of Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta, everything is better than everything. Srila Maharaj will quote that once someone brought a plate of prasad, to Srila Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta with different preparations. And he was tasting everything, shak, chapati, sabji, rice, dal, whatever. And at the end, the devotee was like, so Gurmash, which was better? Which was your favorite? And he replied, everything is better than everything. Invites to think about things from a different perspective. I cannot say this is better or this is worse. It's prasad, it's the grace of the Lord. So how can I be picky and elitist in terms of divine grace? Everything is better than everything. Still, he may have his own personal taste. Oh, I like mango chutney more than this, but from the broader consider, everything is better than everything. It's all divine grace. So we have to be careful about establishing unnecessary hierarchies in the realm of the absolute. There is what we call tattva vichar, and there is what we call rasa vichar. Let's continue you justifying this whiteboard. Well, tattva you have there, so but I will write it again. Tattva vichar and rasa vichar. So means vichar means like discernment or consideration from point of view of tattva or of ontology. Sorry for using some nerdy words. And rasa, a consideration on the particular taste one may be inclined to. Even more nerdy, here comes the word. Tattva means ontological consideration. Here is axiological consideration. That's, you want to impress someone with a cool, fancy word. It's not the same ontological than axiological. And you can, if you want to leave a conversation, you can say that in the first place. Entry point around. So what do we mean by this? Again, tattva vichar means from the impartial perspective, again, everything is better than everything. Or we could even say, from an impartial perspective, let's take the example I always give from a fruit. Okay, we could say objectively, impartially, mango probably is the sweetest fruit. Ripe mango, of course. It's the sweet. We cannot argue with that. You cannot bring apple into the picture and orange and try to make a case for no orange is no. That's the sweetest. Now, on a personal taste level, mango may not be my favorite fruit. I may love pears or peaches. Yeah, mango is the sweetest, but I don't like that much sweet. I stay with my peach. Right? So rasa vichar, consideration according to taste, the flavor. That's axiological. That's on a more subjective experience rather than objective. So again, from an impartial place, everyone may feel subjectively inclined to a form of the absolute or another, but we could also make a case for Mahaprabhu expressing certain uniqueness and specialty. Whereas we talk about sometimes about Krishna, Krishna das Bilba Mangala Thakur, I'm going through all the authors. Bilba Mangala Thakur, he writes in Krishna Karnamrita when he speaks about Krishna, Madhuram, 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 Madhuram. There's a verse that he starts to say how everything about Krishna is sweet, similar to Balabhacharya's Madhurastakam. And the last line of his verse is Madhuram, 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 Madhuram. Like there's nothing else to say but sweet, 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 sweet. But now someone may say, okay, we appreciate the ultra sweetness of Krishna in Vrindavan, but according to my personal taste, that will cause me spiritual diabetes. It's too sweet. It's too sweet. It's too much. It's okay, and there's a place for that, as long as we don't criticize that and say that's bad. So in that way, Mahaprabhu has its own specialty, including even in comparison to Krishna. Again, the same person, but a certain particular emotional disposition that has taken Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami to say Paratattva Sim. Krishna is Paratattva, the highest truth. Mahaprabhu is Paratattva Sima, the highest truth in its further reach in terms of certain types of experience. So Bheda Bhed, again, Krishna and Mahaprabhu, one, Krishna Abhed, non-different, but there is some difference as well. Also, one could make the case, especially for those who are biased toward Gaur Lila, in a healthy way, biased. There's a holy bias there. In one sense, Gaur Lila is more comprehensive than Krishna Lila, because by focusing on Krishna Lila, I mean, if you do with a Gaur Lila bias, you will reach Gaur Lila by focusing on Krishna Lila, like we did yesterday in the morning. But most people focus on Krishna Lila, they don't necessarily arrive to Gaur Lila. Krishna Lila is its own thing, which is fine. Again, there's a place for that in eternity, ki jai. But if by focusing in Gaur Lila, you necessarily end up in Krishna Lila. Because in one sense, Gaur Lila revolves all the time around Krishna Lila. Around Mahaprabhu's inner experience of Radha Bhav. So you have two by the price of one, if you want to put it that way. As we saw when we were studying this Ashtakaliya Lila of Nitya Navadvip, remember? And all day, every period of the day, Mahaprabhu was always relishing some particular period of Krishna Lila. No. So it's you cannot separate the two. We can go to Krishna Lila, do not necessarily end up in Gaur Lila, which happens to not only other Vaishnava Sampradayas, but to many Gaudiya Vaishnavas, which again see Gaur Lila as just the bridge, and Krishna Lila doesn't take me again to Gaur Lila, but Gaur Lila just takes me to Krishna Lila, goodbye Gaur Lila. And there is a place for that. I'm not saying those are ungrateful. Srila Siddhar Maharaj and Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself will say some people have more affinity to Krishna Lila, Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Some people have more affinity to Gaur Lila. Some people have equal affinity for both. Because at the end, again, they are not two separate opposite things. They are different chambers in the same reality. But from Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's perspective in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Chaitanya Charitamrita is kind of the conclusion of all the biographies about Mahaprabhu. There are 7 main biographies. I won't torture you now with going one, every name. We have Chaitanya Charitra by Murari Gupta, the first one. Murari Gupta, Hanuman wrote the first biography on Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Bhagavat, Chaitanya Mangala, many others, Chaitanya Charit Mahakavya. But the last one is Chaitanya Charitamrita, and there is a clear theological development. And the last one, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami concentrates on Mahaprabhu as main reasons for his appearance, the relishing of Radha Bhav, these 3 unfulfilled desires that are there in Krishna Lila. And in that context, he says Mahaprabhu is Paratattva Simha, the highest reach of the absolute truth, or as I like to say, the Supreme Personality of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada will make the case of Krishna being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, following this line of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Right? Third, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God, which is a beautiful. There's so much in that line. We could have another now the retreat just exploring the Supreme Personality of God. Not only Godhead, not only the personality of God. Oh, God has personality. It's a person with a particular personality, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. But then we take it one step further. We have Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Krishna. So as Mahaprabhu, as Gaur Hari, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he wants to understand the Supreme Personality that he is, that he has. Again, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As Mahaprabhu, he wants to understand his own Supreme Personality. Personality that is supreme. I like to make a play of words here. Supreme. And it's not a play of words. It's actually very much etymological. The word prem in Sanskrit means divine love. And something that is supreme. Su in Sanskrit means with an abundance of. Sudurlava, very something. Su this, su that. Supreme means with a lot of prem. A lot of love. Something is supreme. The more something is supreme, that means the more prem is there. The more relish and experience of those prems. So Krishna's own personality is made of that. In one sense, Radha is Krishna's heart. It's difficult to put all this into words. Radha and Krishna are one soul in 2 bodies. Radha is Krishna's own heart, taking a form for the sake of love and interaction. So his own inner self is made of prem. That's why he's supreme. So Mahaprabhu is Krishna trying to understand very many things. That's why Mahaprabhu is very intense personality and complex personality. Because Mahaprabhu is not only Krishna trying to understand the love of Radha, but also he's trying to understand himself as perceived through the lenses of Radha's love. Trying to understand his own personality through her personality. Follow my point? Bring it to your own case. You are someone, Nanda Kumar, and you perceive yourself in a certain way. Now, you may be curious about how your wife Gauri Gopika perceives you. And probably she may see things in you which are true that you are not seeing. So you gain a more comprehensive notion of who you are by seeing you through the lenses of those who know you and love you. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to bring it out to our own case, not to make it self-centered, but just to make it relatable. But of course, now apply that to the infinite reality in Lila. So Mahaprabhu is that. Mahaprabhu is Krishna, he's the Supreme Personality of God, trying to understand his Supreme Personality through Radha's own personality, through the love of Radha for him. Again, love is the greatest form of knowledge. That's what Krishna says in the Gita, Raja Vidya. Bhakti, devotion, love is the greatest knowledge. So Krishna wants to know him and her. So love is the most comprehensive way of knowing anything. So seeing himself through the eyes of her love will provide him the most accurate picture of who he actually is. Again, if you want to know yourself more, you won't go to someone who hates you or who has a complete prejudice vision about who you are. Probably that won't give you an accurate reflection and mirroring back of who you are. Follow my point? And sometimes that person is ourselves. That's another conversation, right? That's why we were talking yesterday. Sometimes we don't get a very accurate picture about ourselves from ourselves. And sometimes we need to go to someone who sees us through the eyes of unconditional love. And that person who is not us is seeing us in a more accurate way than how we see ourselves. Ideally, that's Guru, that's Sadhu, that's God, that mirroring back of who we are and all that we can be. So through the eyes of love, we get the most accurate picture of anything, including ourselves. It's a very healthy exercise. That's Sadhu Sangha, ultimately. Sadhu Sangha is I'm going to those who have love so they can mirror back who I actually am. They can mirror back, they can show me who I actually am. And I can have the experience of being seen through the eyes of love and know myself, maybe for the first time, through the eyes of love. God himself is doing that. So it's not something to be embarrassed about. No, Krishna is doing that all the time for eternity as Mahaprabhu. He feels that need. He gets the point. That's the real thing. To get to know others and myself and everything through the eyes of love. Gaur Lila is that laboratory, that ongoing experiment. So that's why Krishna needs to become Mahaprabhu. It's a necessity. It's not an option. It's not optional. It has to be. And it's not an option for us either. You want to know who you are? Okay, go to the mirror of love and see who you actually are. Not to the mirror of fear, prejudice, assumptions, toxic shame, blah, 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 coming from your own head, coming from others people. That's not who anyone is. Look for the mirror of love. Then everything will be seen in its right perspective. So that's why Krishna becomes Mahaprabhu. Shyam becomes Gaur. In English, they have this saying, maybe in the other countries it's not there, but this idea of something is the new black. Have you heard that? So here we say golden is the new black. Gaur is the new Shyam. Right? So Gaur, the color of Mahaprabhu is the color of Audarya, the color of utmost generosity. So we could even say it's a way in which Krishna becomes even more generous to himself by daring to see himself through the eyes of Radha's love. So that's an act of self-compassion and self-love. So Mahaprabhu is teaching us self-love by him allowing himself to be seen through the most generous perspective possible. that of Radha's eyes. So that's why he's in that color, the color of Audarya, of generosity, not only generosity to others, but generosity also towards ourselves, allowing ourselves to be seen by the eyes of unconditional love. So in this way, Mahaprabhu becomes Paratattva Simha. Gaur becomes the supreme personality of Krishna. In terms of individuation, also, I like that word, you know that word, we use that a lot in radical personalism. Individuation, the process of distilling all that we can be as a person and actualizing all our potential as an individual. So again, God is not an exception to that rule. So Krishna individuates himself further in the form of Mahaprabhu, continues to explore who he is, continues to gain more input and perspective about all that he can be. So Mahaprabhu is Krishna's the ultimate individuation process, basically. So again, with all this, he's teaching us, he's mirroring back, guys, you have to individuate. I'm doing the job. Like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, whatever a great personality does, yat yada charati shrishtastat vitarojana. Whatever a great personality does, everyone else follows. So he's leading the way. He's not saying, hey, be vulnerable. And we were like, what about you? What about me? See Gaur Lila. Check Gambira, how vulnerable Mahaprabhu is. No? Individuate. What about you? Gaur Lila is have the answer to all that. Be empathic. Be curious. Be compassionate. Gaur Lila is Krishna leading the way in all those qualities for us to follow, to be proper. If we want to worship Mahaprabhu is not just taking a chamara and moving it as long as we can, but committing ourselves to embrace the inner processes that the object of our worship is going through himself in our own way, not imitating Mahaprabhu, but somehow committing, feeling, oh, there's an invitation for me in Mahaprabhu's empathy, in Mahaprabhu's vulnerability, in Mahaprabhu's exploration. In Mahaprabhu's willing, in Krishna's willing to let go of an old version of himself to become all that he can be, in this case as Mahaprabhu. There's an interesting term coined by one, let's use another color, by one author called Richard Kearney, and the term is, I don't know how you pronounce it in English, anatheism, or anatheism, not atheism, anatheism, which means God rising up from the old, a new God rising up from the old God. Interesting idea. Indicating an ongoing process of update happening in the life of God himself, which is quite tied to the recent book, Evolution in Divine Love. Can God be updated? Yeah. That's Mahaprabhu, the latest version of the God app. No? So God himself is dying to God, to his previous version of himself. Another invitation for us to embrace a type of death and a new birth and a new life and a new version of ourselves. And literally, we could say God dies to God in different ways. One that comes to mind now is God dies to God at least twice. God is, as Krishna, God dies to God because in Krishna, God forgets that he's God. He's not aware of his Godhood. It's a release of that label. It's an upadi. In Vrindavan, if someone tells Krishna, you are God, that's kind of like a false designation. Like it's disturbance. It's like false ego. No, that's not me. So God dying to God, Krishna in Vrindavan. And then Mahaprabhu. Krishna forgetting that he's Krishna. Entering into Radha's heart. Another way of releasing. For the sake of exploration, for the sake of growth, adventure. So anatheism or anatheism sounds plausible. So the willingness of the divine to let go of a previous version of himself to embrace a newer, upgraded version of himself. We are invited to do the same in our own way, in our own case. So Mahaprabhu basically is that. Mahaprabhu is tasting different moods, but mostly from our tradition, following Chaitanya Charitamrita, he's pursuing the mood of Sri Radha. That's why he's called Krishna Chaitanya. Krishna Chaitanya means Krishna consciousness, right? Chaitanya means consciousness. So Krishna Chaitanya means Krishna consciousness. So that's Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu is Krishna in the mood of Radha, being conscious of Krishna. Krishna consciousness. How Radha is Krishna conscious. That's Mahaprabhu. Almost 9. I won't say time is so cruel because Krishna is time. No, that's not correct. That's not correct. 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes. So because of this and so many other things, we can speak about Mahaprabhu as this Paratattva Simha, this the ultimate reality. There's a nice, interesting expression of Gaur Govinda Maharaj, disciple of Srila Prabhupada. He wrote this beautiful book, The Embankment of Separation. He explored the depths and glory of Gaur Lila in much detail than usual. And he will say, I have a quote here, the color of Mahabhav, of the great experience of love that Radha has, is golden. That's why Radha is known as golden. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi. That's the name of Radha, Gaurangi. Like an unripe mango is green and a ripe mango is golden, Shyam Sundar becomes Gaur Sundar. Why did Shyam Sundar become Gaur Sundar? Because in the former, the mellow is unripe. So here is this analogy. Krishna is like a green mango, unripe. Again, without insulting Krishna, that's the point. Mahaprabhu is a golden mango, ripe. There's the mellow is fulfilled. Because one name of Krishna is Rasaraj, the king of Rasa, the one who relishes all mellows. But there are a few things that he cannot relish as Krishna in Vrindavan, that he can only relish as Mahaprabhu in Gaur Lila. And then his title, Rasik Sekar, Rasaraj, becomes justified. The mellow is ripe. He's experiencing what he was not able to experience there. And that's why we hear that many times Krishna is called as Prabhu in the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna calls Krishna Prabhu, Prabhu, Lord, Master. But we never hear Krishna being called Mahaprabhu. That's a title reserved for Mahaprabhu. For Krishna as Mahaprabhu. As Krishna, Krishna is Prabhu, the Lord. But as Gauranga, he's Mahaprabhu. Because he's experiencing the Mahabhav of Sri Radha, distributing the Maha mantra to each one of us, and therefore he's known as Mahavadanja, the most merciful. So everything about Mahaprabhu is Maha. It's big, huge. So it's Krishna in its most, again, generous, expanded, extended moment, experiencing the love of the madness of Sri Radha. That's an important point that I always like to make. When going back to the Srimad Bhagavatam for a moment, the whole Bhagavatam is about the divine madness in love of Sri Radha, and that's in the very title of the book, Srimad Bhagavatam. Sri is the name for Radha, Madha means madness. In English, but also in Sanskrit, Madha, Unmada. So Srimad means the madness, Madha of Sri Radha, Bhagavatam, for Bhagavan Sri Krishna. That's what the Bhagavatam is about. And Mahaprabhu comes out of that. Mahaprabhu embraced the Bhagavatam as the main book, and he not only embraced the book, he embodied that madness, being Krishna, tasting that unique madness. There's one nice verse from Chaitanya Bhagavat. It says, Vrindavan Das Thakur says, the son of Sachi, Mahaprabhu, he revealed the whole manner of delirium, which have been neither seen nor heard of in the Bhagavatam. So again, the Bhagavatam we hear the madness of Sri Radha to a certain point, but in the way of Krishna himself is embracing that and exploring that, that's unheard of. So it's another way of saying Paratattva Simha, a new level of the divine, the supreme personality of Krishna. In the same way that we could say that ghee is the ultimate irreducible substance of milk, because you can work with milk and create so many substances, but when it gets to ghee, bas. You cannot go further than that. And ghee is golden. So in the same way, we could say that ghee golden like Mahaprabhu is the ultimate irreducible version of the Absolute. And that in itself is eternal and infinite. So it's not, okay, now we need another lila to complete Gaur Lila. No, Gaur Lila in itself is complete. And there's so much to explore there. So anyhow, some words about for us to gain more awareness, more acquaintance with the depth, breadth, heights of Gaur Lila. And some of you may be asking probably at this point, so if this is so high and so deep and so broad, why this is not being spoken so much about? Well, because this very Mahaprabhu is called Channa avatar, the hidden avatar. And he's Channa not only because he comes in the mood of a devotee, but because all related to him is very confidential, very secret. So also it's not something to be spoken cheaply here and there. And it's not something that everyone understands, even in the Gaudiya Vaishnava community. But many of our acharyas like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Siddhar Maharaj, and some others, they have pointed to the specialty of Gaur Lila. And not everyone may find that inclination to explore that direction of the Absolute, but those who do, more than welcome, more than blessed. And Advaita Acharya will say in this regard, and we'll go to his place first today. We'll begin Advaita Bhavan today for some reasons. We'll then go to Sriva Sangam. Advaita Acharya will say Mahaprabhu is expert in hiding. That's the nature of his avatarness. He's confidential, but his devotees are equally expert in finding him. So that's the hide and seek game we are playing. So we have discovered you, Gaur, again today. There you are. We have caught you. One last exercise. 3 minutes. It will be short. And then we'll go to Prashad. Okay? So there's one prompt regarding what we have shared so far, which is if Gaur Lila is the ripe mango, so to say, the ripe, mature, introspective culmination of Krishna Lila, what does that actually mean to me? We already through the exercise trying to make Gaur Lila relatable, how this is speaking to me. So considering all that we shared today and yesterday, if Gaur Lila is this highest of the highest, deepest of the deepest, broadest of the broadest, culmination of everything, what does that actually mean to me? Today, here, now. So 3 groups, groups of 3. Each person will speak for 1 minute, 2 minutes. Next one, and next one. Okay? Same groups. And we conclude here. I conclude here with the recording. So, Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki, Gaur Premananda Hari Hari.